Burnside, Burnside, Burnside. Just seeing if you're keeping up with the playlist. BFOD Squad, back at it again. Wow. Welcome back. Barrel Full of Daryl, Season 2, Episode 16. What's the square root of 16? What's the fourth root of 16? Yeah, just trying to wake you up a little bit. So we are gathered here today because you like to hear me talk about music, movies, provide you with a little bit of mirth, as well as some other funky ass shit. Here we go. First off, shout out to my listeners in South America. That's Brazil, Ecuador, Argentina, and Venezuela. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to tell your friends and neighbors. Mystery movie quote from last week. It puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again. And I gave you the answer when I discussed the movie Silence of the Lambs. It's quite a popular quote from that movie. Mystery music lyric. They were looking, trying to book him, but my pappy kept on cooking. They were looking, trying to book him, but my pappy kept on cooking. That's another one to see if you're listening to the playlist, and I'll give you the answer to that one next week. All right, music. Today I will discuss my wife's favorite band. Now, they're not my favorite, but I do like most of their music. It's the band U2, capital U and the number 2, U2. Now, we were lucky enough to be in Dublin, Ireland a few years back, and we visited a small museum dedicated to U2. My wife loved it, and for her, it was the highlight of the trip. Now, wait, everybody's familiar with U2, right? So why should I discuss them then? That's a good question, but I think I'll give it a go, at least for the sake of any young listeners out there. U2 is a rock band that has 4 members. Paul David Hewson, a.k.a. Bono, he's the lead vocalist. David Howell Evans, a.k.a. The Edge, on lead guitar. Adam Clayton on bass guitar, and Larry Mullen Jr. on drums. Now, they formed in Dublin, Ireland in 1976, and they are still active today. I think they just released an album like a year or two ago. Now, their musical style has evolved over their career, and the genres rock, alternative rock, pop rock, and post-punk. It's kind of what you'll hear in their music. Now, they released 15 studio albums, and they are one of the world's best-selling music artists, having sold 150 million records worldwide. They've also won 22 Grammy Awards, and they've been inducted into both the UK Music Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, the band and its individual members have campaigned for human rights and social justice issues. Why not? They're rich. So their first album, titled Boy, that's it, Boy, 3-letter word, was released in 1980, and it produced their first hit song, titled I Will Follow. Now, their second album, titled War, that's it, 3-letter word, War, was released in 1983, and it gave them 2 hit songs, Sunday Bloody Sunday and New Year's Day. Now, it's an overtly political album regarding war and its emotional after effects. It was a commercial success, and it was their first #1 album in the UK. Now, I'm not going to discuss their full discography. You're welcome. In my not so humble opinion, their 2 best albums are titled The Joshua Tree and Achtung Baby. Yeah. Now, The Joshua Tree was released in 1987, and it contained 3 fantastic songs. With or Without You, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, and Where the Streets Have No Name. Good album. It topped the charts in over 20 countries. Let me repeat that. It topped the charts in over 20 countries. And it won 2 Grammys, one for Album of the Year and the other for the Best Rock Performance by a Group. Now, The Joshua Tree, unlike their previous albums, the sound draws more from American and Irish roots music. And it was influenced by Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, and Keith Richards. Now, that's a trio from which to draw inspiration. Also, the album was produced by 2 greats, Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois. Wow. Lanois, Lanois. I hope I'm saying that right. Daniel Lanois. Okay, before I move on to the album Achtung Baby, U2 released the album Rattle and Hum in between Joshua Tree and Achtung Baby. And it is a hybrid live/studio album. And it continued with their experiences in American roots music. It didn't do very well. Wasn't that commercially successful. But they did have a couple of hits off of it. Firstly, Desire, and secondly, When Love Comes to Town. Now that one, When Love Comes to Town, is one of my favorites. And it features the bluesman B.B. King. Yeah, good song. There's also a documentary film for this album that was recorded and released while they were on tour. Well, it was recorded while they were on tour. It was released later. Okay, on to Achtung Baby. Very good album. Released in 1991. And again produced by Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois. Now, the album title, Achtung Baby, reflects the spirit of the German reunification in 1990. Now, the songs on this album are darker and more introspective and draws more from alternative and industrial sounds. And it is good from start to finish, from song number 1, Zoo Station, to song 12, Love is Blindness. This album also won a Grammy for Best Rock Performance by a Group. And it spawned several hit songs, namely The Fly, Mysterious Ways, One, and Even Better Than the Real Thing. Mysterious Ways it's probably my second favorite song on the album. Zoo Station's number 1. So this was one of their best-selling albums, 18 million copies worldwide, and it debuted at number 1 on Billboard 200 Top Albums. It has been acclaimed as one of the greatest albums of all time, which may be true, but it's arguable. Now, Steve Morse of the Boston Globe stated that the album, in quotes here, not only reinvigorates their sound, but drops any self-righteousness. The songs focus on personal relationships, not saving the world. Might be why I like it more than the other albums. Morse also commended the album's clanging, knob-twisting sound effects, and the Edge's lead guitarist, metallic head-snapping guitar. I agree with this review, especially for the opening song, Zoo Station. So stomp on over to the Season 2 playlist, where I featured this song and several others by them. And now a word from our sponsor. I'll be right back. Hello there, buddy. This Jonathan Mordecai Turnipseed, police chief here in Scratch Ankle, Alabama. You can call me sir. I'm sad to say that last evening someone murdered our beloved blind melon Willie Ray Stanley right out here in front of the Piggly Wiggly. Now the murderer took Blind's tip can after he cut off the bell, as well as his banjo, his kazoo, and even his shoes. I looked at the videos from the nearby ATM, but I can't get a clear image of that asshole's face. Now, he or she is about 5 feet tall, 130 pounds, wearing overalls, a hoodie, and a Piggly Wiggly cap. Now, the murder weapon appears to be a fish gutting knife. Oh, yeah, and in the video, the pup is shoeless, at least during the robbery and murder. So I think I'm looking for someone wearing blind shoes, a pair of multicolored Crocs. Probably got a little blood on them, too. So I'm asking the public for a little assistance to find this son bitch and bring him or her to justice. And I thank you for your attention to this matter. And we're back. Movie time. Movie. How about the movie Hamnet? You guys seen that? It's a 2025 historical drama film directed by Chloe Zhao, Z-H-A-O, Zhao maybe? And it's based on the historical fiction book of the same name, written by Maggie O'Farrell. It dramatizes the family life of William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes Hathaway. Now it stars Paul Mescal as Shakespeare and Jessie Buckley as Agnes. It was nominated for 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, but it lost out to one battle after another. This was last year. However, Jessie Buckley won the Best Actress award, and deservedly so, because she is just fucking amazing in this movie. Now, there will be no spoiler alert for this film, because the biggest spoiler would be the death of Hamnet at the age of 11, and that's actually part of the movie synopsis, so it's not really a spoiler. I guess the only spoiler I'll give you is that between the acting and the scenery, this film is amazing and it is a must-see. Now, as the film begins, the prologue tells you that in Stratford, England, at that time, the time of Shakespeare, the names Hamnet and Hamlet were considered the same. Okay? So if you're wondering about that, that's the reason. Okay, into the story. So Agnes, Shakespeare's wife, is a falconer. And she has a hawk. I looked it up. There's no hawker or hawkener or anything like that. The general term is falconer. Someone who keeps and cares for a bird of prey. Okay? And she also gathers herbs in the forest to make poultices. Now, a poultice is a soft, moist mass of natural materials and herbs, and it's used to relieve soreness, reduce inflammation, or draw out infection. Because of this, and because of her mom, she has the reputation as the daughter of a forest witch who taught her the herbal lore. Oh, and she also can see into a person's future by holding their hand. Maybe she is a witch. So Shakespeare, at the start of this film, he's working as a tutor in order to pay off a family debt. And in the scenes, he's teaching Latin. Now, one day from the classroom window, he sees Agnes, and he leaves the classroom to follow her and introduce himself, which he does. Now, at first, she is coy with him, playing hard to get. But eventually, they fall in love, and they get hand-fasted. Hand-fasted. It's a term that back in that day is pledging their commitment to one another, hand-fasted. And Agnes gets pregnant, and her family disowns her, forcing her to go live with the Shakespeares. Now, she and Shakespeare get married, and soon after, Agnes gives birth to their daughter, Susanna. Out alone in the forest. She wandered out into the forest. And luckily, she's wearing a red dress, and she's, having the contractions, and she lays down and she gives birth to her daughter, unassisted and alone. Yeah. So Shakespeare, he also works for his father, who mistreats him for wanting to be a writer and not to have real employment, hard working with his hands. He wants to be a writer. And his father slaps him around, but Shakespeare retaliates and he quits working for him. And he sticks to his writing. But he becomes very frustrated with his writing. So Agnes has this great idea, and she suggests that he move to London in pursuit of a theatrical career, which he does. And he returns home when he's able. And on one of these return home trips, Agnes gets pregnant again, and she gives birth to twins, boy and a girl, Hamnet and Judith. And over the upcoming years, Shakespeare continues to work in London, and he has become successful. Now the years go by, and the kids grow up. And one day, Agnes's hawk dies, and the family, they get together and they have a funeral for it. So Agnes tells the kids to make a wish to the hawk spirit, who will carry it in his heart. And they all do. They all make a wish. So after the hawk's death and funeral, Shakespeare has to leave for London again. And Agnes is very upset with him about this. And Hamnet is also very upset that his dad is leaving again. But Shakespeare tells Hamnet that he must be very brave. He's the man of the house, and he has to take care of his mom and sisters. And Hamnet promises to do it. So Shakespeare returns to London, and now the streets are lined with people either dead or suffering from the bubonic plague. Back in Stratford, Judith, the twin, has contracted the plague, and she is severely ill, and she's being treated desperately by Agnes. Now, one evening, Hamnet lies down next to Judith, and he cuddles her, and he tells her that he must be brave, and that he will give her his life. And he keeps repeating, I must be brave. The next morning, Judith has recovered, but Hamnet dies. Wow. Shakespeare returns home, but it's too late for him to be there for his son. Agnes again is very distraught, and she reproaches him for being absent. Things only get worse when he tells her that he must return to London. She basically disowns him. Now, in London, Shakespeare prepares for his first play, Hamlet, to be performed on stage at the Globe Theatre. Now, back in Stratford, Shakespeare's stepmother shows Agnes the playbill, and Agnes and her brother leave for London to visit Shakespeare. He's not at home when they show up, and they decide to go to the theater to watch the play. As the play begins, Agnes is first offended, thinking that her son's name is being profaned. Hamlet. She begins shouting. She's at the back. She begins shouting, and she forces her way through the crowd up to the stage. Now she sees her husband, Shakespeare, playing the role of Hamlet's father. And she realizes that the play is a tribute to Hamlet. She's moved to tears. And as Hamlet dies on stage, she begins to smile, and she eventually laughs. And that's for the first time since Hamlet's death. Roll credits. Now that final scene is amazing. and it may be the main reason that Jessie Buckley won her Oscar for Best Actress. It's so great. And her performance, I mean, it's almost unbelievable. And David Fear, a writer for the Rolling Stone, stated that people will be talking about Jessie Buckley's performance for years. And it's been hailed as heroic, and I agree. So it's currently streaming on Peacock, and it can be rented on Prime Video for the price of a gas station hot dog and a Coca-Cola. Tell them Daryl sent you. Go watch it. I mean it. Great movie. Okay, word of the week. Juxtaposition. It's the act or instance of placing two opposing elements close together or side by side. Now, it can be used in speech, in painting, in photography, illustrations. So in speech, John F. Kennedy said, "Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate." That's a juxtaposition. Painting and photography, different colors are used to create contrast. And in illustration, there's what they call a logical fallacy. And it's when they put a picture, here's an example. They put a picture of a politician next to a picture of Hitler, implying that the politician has the same ideology. Probably not true. Yellow journalism. But this particular rhetorical device is common enough to have its own name. Reductio ad Hitlerum. Yeah. It's also called the Hitler fallacy, or playing the Nazi card. And it's a tactic to derail arguments. I think we're all kind of familiar with that in these times. On a lighter note, joke of the week. 5 out of 6 people agree that Russian roulette is a safe game. 5 lucky people. Question of the week. So last week I asked, why does a baseball have stitches? And I also asked, why does a golf ball have dimples? Okay, baseballs, they have 108 double stitches that make 216 loops that are in a figure eight design. These stitches disrupt the airflow and create turbulence, which allows the pitcher to manipulate the spin and movement of the ball. Without those stitches, you would see no curveballs, you would see no sliders, That's why they have the stitches. And every professional baseball is hand stitched. Kid you not. Now, the dimples on a golf ball reduce aerodynamic drag and increase lift. The dimples create a thin, turbulent layer of air that clings to the surface, allowing the ball to fly twice as far and with a much straighter path than a smooth ball. So it's all about aerodynamics. And I have a new question of the week for you. You ready? Why does the sound of running water increase the urge to pee? Why does the sound of running water increase the urge to urinate? And we'll talk about the answer to that one next week. Thought of the week. Thought of the week. We've all heard the saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So my question is, who the fuck is out there skinning cats? and how many ways are there, Jeez. They could get arrested for that. Okay, so don't forget about the playlist hanging out there. Some really good music on there. Hope you're enjoying it. If you feel the urge to contact me, you can click on the little send me a text button in the episodes, little clicky click, or you can email me directly at bfodpodcast@gmail.com. Also, don't forget that the podcast episodes have an option, another clicky for you to support this show. This is a fabulous feature that it will allow you to contribute a couple of dollars every month. Yeah. Kind of like tithing. Okay, so I guess that's it for this podcast. Kind of had fun. Hope you did too. Hope you were entertained and educated. And let's do it again next week if you're up to it. Okay, then. Bye for now.